All right, this is crazy. I just found a system to make 15,000 cold calls for my agency, and it's literally by duplicating myself. So I built a team of commission-based cold callers who go out, make the calls, book the appointments, qualify them, get them to show up. So literally all I have to do is get on the sales calls and take the calls and close the deals. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to hire them, where to find the best ones, onboarding them, how to use a power dialer so you don't have to manually call, and much more. And make sure to stick to the end because I'm literally going to give you the exact dialer that I use in Go High Level. So you can also go and just copy it and use it for your own callers too. So make sure to stick around. So when you're hiring a team of commission-based cold callers, there's really 5 different pillars. The first one is hiring, obviously going, finding them, how do you source them? Onboarding, right? So onboarding them, the same process there, building a culture, using the power dialer, so actually getting them a dialer so they're not manually dialing. But let's just get into it. So the first part with hiring is a lot of people make the mistake I see is they go and hire the first caller they find, and then they end up churning the caller, especially when they're on a commission base. If you are just hiring just as quick as possible, people are going to churn super quick. So like the saying goes, it's hire slow, fire fast, right? So your hiring process should be slow. You should have a process behind it, which is what I'm going to show you. If you just go follow this, you should be good. But just make sure that you keep in mind, you're not just hiring just to hire. You really want to make sure the people you bring on are good fits. Now, the first thing before you go and hire is you want to find your numbers, right? So how many callers, how many hires do we even need to make in the first place? So I have this cool calculator right here where we can go plug in our numbers and go and see, okay, if our goal is $10,000 in a month, how many in our booking rate is X percentage, our show rate is this, how many calls do we need to do every single day in order to make it mathematically impossible to not hit this goal? So let's go and say right here, let me zoom in a little bit. Let's say our current revenue, let's say we're making $0. Let's say our offer price, let's say we're doing $1,500 a month. Let's say if our closing percentage is, let's say it's even 10%. Use conservative numbers here, and our show rate, let's say it's 50%. It's going to go and tell us in our booking rate, we're booking 2 out of 100 calls, which is pretty standard. We're going to need to make 333 calls a day in order to go and hit this goal. Now, ideally, we want to get this up to like 400 calls a day, because if it says we need 330, let's do 400 to make it impossible for us not to hit this goal. But if you're basically closing at 10%, your show rate's 50%, and your booking rate's 2%, this is what you need. If you make this amount of calls a day, you are going to hit your first 10K a month. It's as simple as that, and that's why it's knowing those numbers, right? So that's the first thing, and you can go and see, you go and find out, okay, here's what I need. You then want to go reverse engineer it, right? So if we need 333 calls a day, let's say ideally we want to add some room for error. So let's say like 400 calls per day. So if we're getting a caller who's doing 100 calls per day, we're going to need 4 callers, which if we need 4, they're doing 100 a day, that's good. I would bring on probably 5 or 6, because what happens if one of them gets sick one day? Then you're not hitting your daily input. We basically just need to bring on callers to make sure it's impossible for us not to hit this input every day. Because again, the input, if we're hitting this input every day, we are going to scale our agency to the 10K a month, to whatever the goal may be. Right, so that's going to be the big thing there. Once you know your numbers, the way to go out and hire is pretty straightforward, pretty simple. I've gone through this in other videos. I have made a couple little nuances here, which is what I'm going to show you. But you're basically going to go to Facebook groups. You're going to go look up something like cold caller Facebook groups. Like as an example, let me go and show you cold caller Facebook groups. You're going to go look that up, and we should get some results for Facebook groups, and there should be a bunch of them. And you just want to go and join as many as possible. So cold callers and closers, cold callers community, like you see all these right here, telemarketers, virtual assistants. You're going to go and you're just going to go join all of these Facebook groups, and you're going to go make a post like this, looking for a cold caller as soon as possible, earn up to, you want to say up to $1,500 a month, because again, we're paying them commission based, not hourly, but we don't want to say, hey, we're giving you commission based, because you're not going to get anyone interested. So you say earn up to $1,500, $2,000 a month, DM me if interested. Basically, there's 2 things you can do here. If you haven't hired before, I would go and basically qualify and book people over DMs, have them go and DM you. But otherwise, what you can go and do is use an application funnel, which is this over here, which is what I'm going to show you. But you can pretty much go and set this up where it's pretty much a Loom video breaking down the script that you want them to go and read. Basically, what it says is, hey, here's the script, here's how you should read it. You're going to have them read the script and then actually submit an application with reading the script in it. So you can basically go and hear them. They're basically it's a full application funnel where they're reading the script, the exact script that you would go and use. They can open it and then they submit an application of them reading the script. I really do like this, and if you're more experienced, I would go and do that. And if you guys want this exact page and kind of how to make this, I do have a free Go High Level snapshot below where you can get my templates and stuff, and also a free trial to Go High Level. So you can go and use that. It'll be in the description below if you want that. But that's pretty much the two ways you're either going to qualify and book them over DMs or use the application funnel. It's all going to lead back to the interview. This is almost like your outreach, right? They're both, this is more inbound, this is more outbound. You're still getting messages, but it's just, I guess this is a lot more we could just say automatic. What you could also go and do then is you could have AI go and grade people based on their application. So when someone submits a form, rather than you needing to go down each person and like give them a grade, you can use AI to go and do that. But basically, all it comes down to is then you getting on a call with them and doing an interview. Now, you can do one-to-one interviews, or you can also do group interviews. For this case, I'm just going to go over one-on-one, just because it would be too long for a YouTube video to go over the group interview as well, which is what I recommend in some cases. But let's just talk about the one-on-one interview for now. So pretty much the biggest things we're looking for is their motivation and mindset. Why are you motivated to do this? Because you're going to find when you hire callers, the hardest part is keeping them motivated to consistently hit their daily quota. Again, the daily quota is 100 calls a day, and we need them to consistently do that every single day. Because if they're not, then we're not going to hit our goal of $10,000 a month or whatever it may be. And also finding out what's their motivation to call, right? Calling is not easy, and we need to set the expectation that, hey, it's not going to be easy. So with these callers, I find the mistake I made in the beginning is I brought people on, and I just try to like sell them on the role. And then they after a day, they're calling and they're getting hung up on. They're like, this is not what I wanted it to be. I thought it was going to be easier. I thought I was going to book more. And especially if they're on a commission basis, if they're not booking appointments, they're not making money, right? So you need to set the expectation that it is going to be tough. Why is this something that you're prepared for? We also want to go over their experience and skills. Have you done cold calling before? How'd that go? They don't need a ton of experience to be honest. Then I want to go and do a role play with them, right? So like with the script, if you did this one, you've already heard them read it, but you want to do it again, right? You want to give them some feedback on it, and pretty much just setting the expectations. But that's basically the interview process. And again, I would go and have a grading system to go and grade people out of 10 total. And then basically what you go and do is you're going to take, I would say, at least 10 to 15 different interviews. If you're doing a group interview though, you can save yourself a couple hours of time by doing this. But you're going to take 10 or 15 calls, interviews, and you're going to grade them out of 10, and you're just going to go pick the 5 or 6 people who have the best score. That way you're removing all emotion from it, and it's strictly just based off data, based off of the call that you were on them with. Right. Now, after that, it's going to be compensations. How are we actually paying them? There's really 3 different ways you can pay them: just commission based, which is like 10% per deal. You can pay them something per appointment and 5% per deal. Otherwise, you can pay them something like $500 a month base plus 10% per deal. Now, this one is going to be the best if you have capital and you have and you want the absolute best people. You're going to get in the churn, it's going to be the lowest, but obviously you're paying $500 a month. I personally, when I had my cold calling team, I was doing this: $15 per appointment and 5% per deal. You can even do this instead of just $15 per appointment. You can do per qualified appointment. So what that basically means is they need to show up. That way you're not paying for no-shows. That can be a good option. It is a bit trickier, but I do really like this model because what you don't want to do is get them on an hourly. That's the last thing you want to do, because then they're not incentivized to, number one, make as many calls as possible, and 2, also not even book calls in the first place if they're just getting a base, right? Just go work at McDonald's at that point. But pretty much this is going to be the compensation structure I like. And the reason for this is because it's not like this one where they need to wait for the deal to close, because that's where you're going to find a lot of churn. Is if they're waiting for deals to close, it's like 3 weeks, you still haven't closed the deal from one that they've booked in, and it's just like there's no reason for them to stick with you. But with this, I've had callers who've been with me 5, 6, 7 months at a time on a commission base just using this one, and they're ripping 100, 200 dials a day. So that's the compensation structure. That's the hiring. That's going to be the first part. And this is the main, a really important part is you could have, again, all the perfect onboarding, perfect culture, perfect power dialer, all this stuff on the back end. But at the end of the day, if you're bringing in poor quality people, you can't polish a turd. Is a good saying, right? Or you can't. It's like putting lipstick on a pig is still a pig, right? So you need to bring in the right people in the first place and be cautious and conscious about bringing in the right people who are also good culture fits. Now, again, I don't want to go through all this right now. The second thing or the other thing I want to focus on now is the power dialer and how to actually logistically, when you do have a team, how do they go and dial, and basically how to have a system where they're not having to manually dial, but they can go make as many dials as possible. Because again, what it comes down to, once you know your numbers, we need 333 dials a day. We want to make them as efficient as possible. How about we get them to do 600 dials a day? Imagine that. We need 333, but imagine we double it and do 600 a day. Imagine how, and that it's going to pretty much be impossible for us not to hit your goal. And that's the whole point of it, is we reverse engineer it, and then we just do volume. Now, to make our life easier, again, to do the volume, we want to have a system which is using a power dialer. So this is just in Go High Level, which is basically just a set of workflows, but you can go and auto dial the lead. So I'm going to go and show you this right now on how to set it up and what it looks like. So this is the workflow. You have add leads here. You have the booked filter, hot lead, log, in this exact workflow. Just go use my Go High Level affiliate link in the description below, and you'll get access to all this stuff. So the first one, so you can kind of see how it's built out, is going to be where you go and add the leads to. So you're going to upload contacts, and then you're going to basically add them to the workflow. So when you upload contacts in Go High Level, you can click add to workflow, and you're going to add them to this one right here. It's basically going to be manual call. It's going to be create or update opportunity, add them in the cold call leads pipeline stage, in the stage dialed, and then it's also going to add the dialed tag. You're going to click back. That's the first one right there. The second one is the booked filter. So basically, after you call somebody, there's going to be usually 4 to 6 options that pop up. One of them is booked, one is not interested, and we're basically telling Go High Level what was the status of this call. So trigger is call status. So if we choose requested appointment, what that's going to do then is tell Go High Level we booked this person in. So it's going to automatically move them to the booked stage in the cold call leads pipeline, and it's going to add the tag booked. And then what you can also go and do as well is you can add them to a workflow with appointment reminders. And you can do all this automatically. So then your callers or you aren't having to go manually send out messages. Basically, hey, we called this person, we booked them in, now we added them, they're getting appointment reminders, and they're all booked in. And you do the exact same thing if they're not interested. If they are interested, they want you to follow up. If it's a hot lead, if they don't pick up, you have this for all of it. But again, if you guys want this, just go use the link below. Now I want to go and show you how the dialer actually works. So you go over to conversations. The sun is shining in my eyes. So hopefully it's not too bad. You go to conversations. You go to manual actions. This is how you actually go and use the dialer. Once you're in manual actions, you're going to click let's start right here. And it's basically going to go and dial these people. I'll show you guys an example. So you click let's start, and then it's going to go automatically dial them for you. So it's around, I'm in, time zones are a bit wacky, so it's 1 a.m. I'm going to call this guy. Hopefully he doesn't come after me. But basically, you click allow. I want to end call. I don't want to call this guy. And you can go and see right here. So you're going to choose the outcome of this call. So if this one was a no answer, if it was a voicemail requested appointment, incorrect number, not interested, you choose whatever it is, and then it goes and adds them to that stage. But that's basically how you go and use the power dialer, and it's going to go and auto dial all your leads. Now, that's pretty much the stuff I wanted to go over in this video. You do need these other things right here. These are the two things that I get asked about the most, is the power dialer, the hiring and stuff. You definitely want to make sure you have data trackers, you record their calls, you know how to take the weekly group calls as well. But that's basically the framework of how I use this to basically make 15,000 cold calls for my agency by just using commission-based callers. And if you guys want to work with me one-on-one, have me help you set this up, based on your agency and have this exact same system for you specifically to scale, go apply to work with me one-on-one using the first link in the description. Other than that, I have a full free 9-hour course where I do go a little more in depth into this. If you want to check that out as well, the link is also in the description. It's 100% free. But either way, this can be a really good model, but you need to make sure you actually do it correctly.